Szeretettel köszöntöm a képernyők előtt helyet foglaló kedves közönségünket. Ez itt a Liszt Ferenc Kamarazenekar videós podcast sorozata, én pedig Tóth Endre vagyok. Idén 60 éves a Liszt Ferenc Kamarazenekar, ami azt jelenti, hogy egymás után jönnek világhírű szólisták az együtteshez. Nem unatkozik a zenekar egyáltalán, nagyon sok nagyszerű koncertet ad az évben az évforduló alkalmából. Ezúttal pedig Amihai Grosz, izraeli brácsaművész, a Berlini Filharmonikus zenekar szólóbrácsása látogatott el hozzánk. Őt fogom most kérdezni. Még azt is megkérdezem tőle, hogy melyik a kedvenc brácsás vicce. Tartsanak velünk! I warmly welcome you. It's a great pleasure for us to have you here. Thank you for accepting our invitation. You have just finished your rehearsal with the Franz Liszt Chamber Orchestra, but this was not the first time you played together, since you could already perform with them in 2021 at the Kapos Fest International Music and Arts Festival. Please tell us about this previous concert experience.
I just remember that how beautiful it was for me as a soloist, that usually you play with big orchestras. And you definitely feel a little bit. There is a little bit of you feel a little bit lonely on stage, and somehow to join this wonderful orchestra, it's like a family. So there is this extra power and extra communication that it's really great. You just feel more connected to the players sitting behind you, and I find it wonderful. I mean, when after Kaposvar, that of course it was in a festival, and we had great time together. When they offer and they ask me if I can join for a concert, especially here, it is wonderful concert hall. I mean, there was no doubt that I would say yes, of course I would love to do that, especially with a nice program. So I feel very honored to be here again.
And how was the rehearsal today? What is it like to work together with the Franz Liszt Chamber Orchestra?
They are tentative. They want to play as good as they can, searching all the time, and I find it the highest musical level that one can ask for. And the rehearsal was great. I mean, we played the Martino Concerto Rhapsody. That it's a very tricky piece. I mean, it's not kind of a thing that you just put on the music stand and it comes out very easily. So there is always a search. And I think we didn't really, you need maybe more concerts or more time, because it's kind of a very, very intensive, short piece in a way. And with great, I mean, the rehearsal was great, and I cannot wait for the concert today.
So in such a family-like environment, even a concerto can be like chamber music.
Yeah, I mean, the size of the orchestra, including the soloist and Istvan, the conductor, of course, yes, it feels more chamber music than an orchestra with a soloist, and this is what it's very interesting to have it, as opposed to, the normal.
You played with the famous Jerusalem Quartet, and now you are principal violist of the Berlin Philharmonic, not to mention your recitals all over the world. Do these activities and different genres require a different kind of preparation or mindset?
Of course. I mean, I would say it's a different mindset than a preparation, because, at the moment in my life, at the step I'm at the level of my career at the moment, of course the preparation is different. In a way, I already know what's going to happen, but what it is, I have the experience. I mean, for chamber music and for solo and for orchestra, but it's really the state of mind that one should be very tentative to. One cannot play as a soloist in chamber music, and one cannot play chamber music as a soloist. Like even today, as I mentioned before at the rehearsal, the orchestra was a little bit on the slow side. And I, like a good chamber music player, that I think is very important. You know, you play with your ears more than anything else. I was basically following the orchestra in a way. And that was not the right instinct or set of mind. I mean, one has to, as a soloist, you have to stick to your, you know, to your tempo, to your rhythm. So just that's an example for having a little bit of, you know, you have to, as a soloist, you have to present something else. You have to present 100% of yourself. It's a shorter time on stage. You have to show more characters. You have to be more tentative to the changes in mood. And of course, in chamber music, you are, how can I say it? I mean, and that's the beauty about chamber music. You are part of something. It's not about you. You are the last thing that it's important in a way, you know. Even if you're the only violist in the group, it's the togetherness. It's the give and take that also are in solo, of course, and also in the orchestra as an orchestra player. But it's how you prepare for the concert. For chamber music, it's this kind of purity and just letting go of things. And in a solo performance, I would say it's about grabbing everything and, you know, just explode. And in the orchestra, of course, it's a completely different thing. You have a conductor, and I see myself a little bit as a bridge negotiations between the conductor and what comes out around me or behind me, and I have to play with it. So it's a little bit like, you know, it's a little bit like I'm on a Google map, you know, and the conductor idea is the last, you know, it's the final stop, the final destination, and I need to know how to navigate to arrive there. So it's also a pretty different state of mind. Saying all of it, I mean, this is why I find myself so humbly thankful for the career I have, that I have this chamber music and I have the orchestra and the solo. I mean, as a violist, it's like, you know, this whole package. It is difficult to combine, but I think as a musician, it gives you, you know, just more aspects of creation.
And what do you think? What is the secret of the Berlin Philharmonic?
Probably one cannot really answer it. There is not one answer, but first of all, the quality of playing, of course, but then you ask yourself, what create this quality of playing? And quality of playing is not just intonation, rhythm, sound-wise. Of course, it's part of it, but it's also the music making. And I find it's a rare opportunity to sit in a big orchestra and feel like a chamber ensemble. Or not even a chamber ensemble, but everybody is 120% minimum engaged. You know, and the normal orchestra, maybe as a principle, you have to lead, to be like the, let's say, the big wave, the start of the wave, and then it goes back relaxing, absorbing into the water. But in our orchestra, and I love it, it just causes, you know, it comes from the back, the wave. It's this massive that everybody from every point on stage is just, you know. And I find it so interesting that this orchestra kept the tradition, this kind of emotional way of playing and listening, and the sound comes from that, of course. Just for so many years, it kept this tradition of this kind of a fire, this everybody just plays in the concert. And for me, this is, I cannot ask for more. I mean, it's heaven, sitting there and playing and being part of this orchestra, it's a gift. You know, I mean, every ensemble, every group, every person has good days, bad days, you know, bad days. It's not like, you know, it also depends the repertoire and the conductor, and this is put it in a way that the level will be still wonderful. But then you have those moments, or more than moments, those programs or something that it's like, you know, there is something in the air that it's so powerful. And this is why we are playing, I think. This is why I'm playing. That you feel this wonderful energy. Yeah, I know, it's hard to describe, but it is what it is. And of course, it's also in chamber music and it's also in solo playing. And if you have it in such a big group, it's quite an amazing, yeah.
Your life is very busy, and now your little son has joined you. How can work in such a profession be reconciled with family? Since you were recently on a tour in Japan, and then your journey immediately led to Budapest.
It's a sacrifice, and I have an amazing better half that also very busy. Alma, my wife, sings in the Komische Opera in Berlin, so it even makes it more difficult to, you know, we have to navigate because she also performs at the evenings, you know, and I'm trying to combine it as much as I can. That of course I'm at home, and of course when I'm in the orchestra, so I'm at home. I'm playing the concerts, but at least I'm at home. And of course it's a sacrifice to at the moment to know that I'm more than expected. I'm traveling and I'm away and playing, but you know, it's just a way one needs how to balance it, and we try to balance it, and yeah, I mean, Daniel and Nina, the kids, I think it's important that they know that this is what we do, and we try to give them everything that we can beside that. So that's, at the moment it's rough and tough, but it's with a lot of love, and I think it is what it is. I mean,
I think many people has already asked this, perhaps because the instrument is not always mentioned in a positive context. Why did you choose the viola?
I think I found, you know, I started the violin and then I moved, I think I was 10 years old, I moved to viola. So I founded the viola, well, it started because I grew up in Jerusalem, of course, in Israel, and there was this wonderful golden age. I mean, of course, still Zuckerman and Stern and Perlman, and of course they're still playing, but Zuckerman was playing the violin and the viola, still, of course, but for me as a child, you know, it was. And also my teacher back then, David Chen, I think he saw that my voice, my inner voice, is, because he also played the viola. My inner voice was more, I would say, to the direction of a viola. I think maybe the sound and maybe the way I, you know, create music, which means, yeah, I think it's a more human voice. Not that the violin is not human and not being, you know, singable, but somehow with the viola is more, I think, closer to the human voice. Warmer, deeper, and of course you have the cello, but yeah. And we tried together the viola, and it was love from the first sight. So yeah, I played it, and I used to. There was a year or 2 years that I still played both, and then the quartet started. We started very young at school, so I was basically 14, less than 14 even, younger I mean, and so when the quartet became very fast, somehow we won some competition, so it was kind of, you know, there's also something that it's more powerful than you in life, and it felt like, okay, it's the viola, that's my path, you know, somehow the viola in the quartet, and I started to, you know, feel, but basically I think the viola is, you know, it's my voice, and I find it so interesting that one can, of course, at the highest level of playing, one can enjoy the fact that you can still sound like a violin, but also you have the fact that you can be very deep and dark. I like the fact that you can, you know, it's not only bright. It's, you know, it's bigger than that.
And do you have a favorite viola joke?
There are too many. You know, there are too many good ones. Most of them, I have to say, I mean, in our days, of course, it became kind of an urban myth because the level of the viola playing is a complete different status. But still, the jokes are kind of funny, you know. It's like I honestly, if I have a favorite one, yeah. But you know, this violist come back home after rehearsal and he sees his house kind of on fire, and his wife and the kids, of course, they're outside, safe, but complete shocked, and he stopped the car and he's running out, of course, taking care of this family and asking them, I mean, what happened? You know, I mean, it's like he was totally shocked, and she said, "Oh, you cannot imagine. I mean, just before you came, you know, the conductor, he came to the house and he was on, you know, he was obsessed and he started to, you know, throw things, and we had to go out, and then he basically, you know, just burned the house." And the violist was like, "The maestro came to visit my house." I hope it will not happen to me, by the way.
Of course. Please also tell us a little about your instrument, because it's a viola by Gaspar de Salo from 1570.
Yeah. It's very, very, very old. One of the earliest instruments. I mean, of course, you can.
It's older than the Stradivarius violin.
It's older than the Stradivarius violin. Yeah. The Stradivarius is a modern instrument compared to the. Yeah. It's a beautiful, beautiful instrument from the Brescian school. It's not a Cremonese. I think it's even a little bit before the Cremonese went into the level, you know, and to the kind of a fame. It's dark, it's close to the ground, it's this kind of a rough sound a little bit. Not rough, but very dark, you know, and mellow. And it's an amazing, amazing viola. It says everything. As those instruments, as great they are, you know, they're all having a storytelling inside their soul of the instrument, and every concert with this instrument there is something that I feel that the instrument react to. Either it's me, either it's the acoustic. It's not just, you know, in this level, in this kind of instrument, it's not just a piece of wood, great piece of wood, you just play. I think that makes life a little bit more complicated as a performer, but on the other hand, there is always a little bit of dialogue with the instrument on stage. Sometimes, you know, it doesn't really speak as you want and this and that, but it creates so many colors, and I'm very lucky to have it. I mean, it's from a private family in London, and I'm very, very happy and honored that I can play on this instrument. Yeah.
Apart from the Martinu concerto, you play Max Bruch's Kol Nidrei with the Franz Liszt Chamber Orchestra. As an Israeli musician, how important is nurturing Jewish traditions to you? I suppose it adds a kind of authenticity to your music that you speak the Hebrew language and know the music, the intonation of the language itself.
It's a gift to have this as a repertoire, you know, by Bruch, to have the Kol Nidrei, the prayer, the Jewish prayer, and for me it's very important to keep the Jewish. It's not like I'm, you know, having a title above my head saying I wanna. I mean, because there are people who are doing it much better than me, and if you really go deep into the Jewish language, if you go to the Yiddish, and then you go more traditional, and of course it's not part of the classical repertoire, but this Kol Nidrei it's a great chance, or the Hebrew melody by Bloch, it's a great chance to have, you know, to have the opportunity to play something that, you know, I'm not saying I'm playing it, the way, it's not about me playing Jewish music. I mean, just personally for me, it's a great opportunity to play something that you know it's part of your tradition or part of your genes. So it makes it very special, of course. So it's great, yeah.
Speaking of languages, for a long time it was thought that Bartók's music was only really understood by Hungarian musicians because of the folk songs. Speaking of which, what is your relationship with Hungarian musicians and Hungarian music in general?
Well, I mean, my father's side, they all come from Hungary. They immigrated to Israel in the mid-50s. So, I mean, my family name, the Grosz with the SZ, I mean, it's,
Yes.
yeah, it's Hungarian. So, unfortunately, my father, when they immigrated to Israel, there was this, nationalism of speaking Hebrew and try to kind of not forget, but, to create a new state. So they didn't really wanted or to, to keep the language alive so much. So my father, of course, he speaks Hungarian, but with me, they didn't really speak, not never, but it was when my grandmother was still alive, so of course then it was. So I think it's very important because the language does connect something to the music, so it connected to the music. I mean, of course I think it's not an intelligent thing to say that only Hungarian can play Bartók as Bartók, Yeah. I mean, I can say also that why not American can play Bartók because he immigrated to America, So it can be debatable, but I'm saying it a little bit with the humor, yeah. But yeah, the language create an emotion, create the conversation with that language, does connect it to the music, like with the Hebrew music, same. So for me, again, it's funny. Also the Edre and also Bartók, and it's like it's something that I feel very close to. I think there is something misterioso behind it, more than just this is like, I mean, even in the language, there's you can smell it somehow, yeah.
And let me ask a last question, again in connection with the Franz Liszt Chamber Orchestra, which celebrates its 60th anniversary this year. And this question will be a compulsory element in every podcast interviews. What do you wish them for their birthday?
Oh, wow. I wish them to never feel bored by making music on stage, and never feel like an orchestra or chamber orchestra is kind of work. It's not. It shouldn't be like that. I mean, they are great, and they should stay as they are. And for the next 60 years, I wish them success and growth with maybe other repertoire. And I hope to come back as soon as I can, because I'm having really great time, and Istvan is, it's a wonderful, wonderful leader.
Many, many thanks for accepting our invitation to this talk, and we wish you good luck with your next concerts and all your future projects. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Én nagyon élveztem ezt a beszélgetést, úgy gondolom igen sok mindent megtudhattunk Amihai Grosztól, illetve Amihai Groszról. Remélem a következő alkalommal is velünk tartanak majd, hogy ez mikor lesz. Ezzel kapcsolatban kérem, kövessék honlapunkat, YouTube csatornánkat, valamint Facebook és Instagram oldalainkat.